Hello, welcome to another tutorial in the Getting Started series. And in this tutorial, we are going to learn about text. So in the next few videos, we are going to take all the create buttons on the tool panel, and then we are going to go one after the other. So we are going to talk about each of the elements that could go into building your website step by step so that you can understand them. And the first thing we are going to do is talk about text. And so this is the text button. This is what you click on to add text to your content. Now I'm just going to delete this block that we created earlier, and then we can start afresh. So I select the block and I click delete to delete it. Now let's select the section back. It is something that comes naturally to me, but I think I need to explain it for you to understand. As we have already said, the section contains or could contain all the elements on here. A block, an image, shapes, buttons, text, audio, video, form elements. Okay, so the section, as we've said already, can contain all these elements, and you can put as many elements as you want in one section, but it is something that you have to be logical about. As I said, you need to group like items in a section so that you can save them and reuse them later. So in this case, if you want to add any element to a section, you need to select the section first and then click on what you want. So right now we want to add text to our element. We are building a look. Let's say we are building a website, and then we need to add text to it. Definitely have a lot to say, so let's get right on with the text. So I have my text here. When you add a text, it appears at a particular place. It has a color, it has some text in there, a selected font. So we are going to go ahead and then deal with these default settings or default notes that come with a text. So if you've not noticed so far, when an item is selected with a blue bounding box and the circles around it like this, then you can move it around, move it wherever you want, and drag it wherever you want to place it. So I want to put it in the middle. And one way to find the middle of an element or the section is to probably click on this, and as you can see, this is the middle. One thing you can do too is double click on this to actually give you a guideline to actually position your element. So I take my text and I'm going to put it in the middle, and there we have it. We have the text in the middle of the page. So right now let's go into the settings of the text and see what we can actually do through it. So we click this, we select the text, and then we go to our applied notes panel. So you're going to be using this node a lot when you are dealing with text and any other element in the application, because this is where all the nodes that you have applied to a particular element come so that you can change it. So first we want to change the font size, so we can increase the font size by clicking the plus button, plus or minus button. Now we go on to change the color. Okay, then we go on to change the font family. So I have a few fonts I normally use in these situations, so I'm just going to start typing and then they will show up. Okay, now there's this node called text, and that contains the text in here. You can change it here or directly select it from here. And some of the times when you click on the text, it doesn't actually select it for you. So what you would need to do is right click on it right after the text is selected, and then click on it again to bring the cursor for you to be able to deal with it. Now let's type something. Alright. So now you see I was working on this text right now. What I said earlier is that after working on this, I want to click on another element so that the previous settings I created for this text will save, or I could just press Ctrl S to save this element. So right now I just want to click on this because I want to add another text to it. So I'm selecting the section and I'm going to add another text to it. So now as you can see, there's an issue here. What we did earlier, some of the elements didn't save. The only part that saved was what we typed in here. Okay, so what happened here could happen to you. What is just simple, that the settings we did here before we dragged the element or typed in here didn't save, because once we did the changes we didn't save. So what we are going to do here is we are just going to bring it to change the color of the text. We are going to increase the size as we did and change the font family. So we are just going to say Roboto boat, okay, and then we are going to save this. So now what I'm going to do is just click on the text and move it this way. I'm going to select the next text and I'm going to do the same for it. What I'm going to do is that after selecting, dragging it, anytime I click on any other element, it saves the settings for me. So I'm just going to click on this and then take it, change the color, let's change the font size, let's leave the font size as where it is, and then let's see. Okay, so let's take this font. Okay, now I can save. Now when I save the settings and start typing, and we will try it again to see if it's going to work. And just keep it simple. Okay, so alright, so now we have that. What I would want to do is probably add a third text, but in order to save what we have done so far is working, let's refresh this section and see what we have. So this is exactly what we have here, and I can see that there are some, as you can see, I told you earlier, when we change the text element whilst dragging and changing all this together, it really didn't save when we press the Control S to save. One sure way to make sure that what you're doing actually sticks is anytime you make an editing or to a new element, click on another element like this and then you just save it, and basically the settings for this one has been saved already as you click a different element. So that's basically some of the basics of dealing with text here. So right now we have an interesting text in here that we can. So there are a few bugs that you can find sometimes when you're working. Whatever you find, just please report it and let our developers work on it, because well, this is the newer version of the new release online that we created. So there are bound to be a few bugs here and there. So just let us know, and then we are going to fix them. Okay, so basically we've talked about how to add text to your section, but then let's dive deeper into some of the nodes that actually work for text and what are other things that you can do with it. So now I'm going to click on this text and I'm going to reduce the height because I want to push it to the left. So I'm pushing it to the left. I'm going to take this text as well. I'm going to push it to the left as well. Now one of the things I would like to do is align the text to the left. So I'm just going to look for text align and I'm going to align it to the left so that I can have something nice like that. I'll do the same for this because later on I'm going to add more text to it. Now with that done, as you can see, the line height, that is the distance between the two lines here, is too much. So that we don't have a node here called line height, and as I said, we have a reference of all the nodes. So what I would want to do is just search for line height here and just add line height to it. This is what actually happens when you add a new node. So it has default settings that, as I said earlier, you have to edit to what you want. So I think this is actually better for me. So then I click away and have this settled in this way. Now there's an easy way to align stuff. As you can see, we have this working for us, and we have the guides to when you're moving the element. So let's say I want to put this over here, right? So I can take this block and then align it with it, take this one as well and align it with it, and basically I have a clean sort of look that I actually want to use. And because the fonts are different and different sizes, definitely they are not going to be on the same line if you look at it carefully, but it's all cool that you can't have it any other way. Now when you select a text, there are a lot of things that you can do. You can see we have the title element here, so you can change the title, which goes into building the website. So for example, you can put in something, let's code Okay, so for example, that's done, and I've talked about the text and the text node. So the text node is basically what kind of text this is. So we have different types of we have the span, we have the H3, we have H1, and all those kind of stuff. We are going to go deeper later, but basically these are headings. They are headings for text in your website that you're going to use. So in the rule of thumb says that each page actually needs one H1 tag, right? So these are tags that, yeah, it's like classifying the text on your page so that readers and other bots can know what the hierarchy for text on your website or the particular page that you are building. So we have H1. So what I would say is that the whole website can have one H1 tag. That's the main idea about the website or that particular page. I mean, the whole page can have one H1 tag that talks about what that whole page is about, sort of like an intro into the page. Now, every section you create should ideally have an H2 tag and maybe multiple H3 tags before you can have the paragraph tag, which is basically automatically selected when you create a text. So this element can be an H2 or a paragraph tag. It doesn't really matter, but we will get into details when we talk about on-page search engine optimization, how to make sure that your website is accessible to all devices, bots, and all that. We are going to go into detail, but for now I just wanted to explain what the text node is. Now we have an auto-responsive node that has been added to this, and I'm going to show you way later in the tutorial series how to edit and use this node, because, well, I normally like to do it manually because I believe that every website content should determine how it becomes responsive, but we have an auto-responsive feature that we are going to talk about later. Now basically I will talk about the rest. I don't want to confuse you too much with so many nodes at once. So we have talked basically about the text node. We've talked about the text, title, font size, font family, because we are looking at editing the text. Basically that is it. So before we end this tutorial, I want to show you how you can isolate part of this text here and change the font settings, font family, and all those stuff of it. So what you can do is just click on this, and so let's select website, press on so when you select the text and you have the cursor inside in the text, you just press shift and then you select the text that you want to edit. And in most cases, sometimes you would want to add a whole lot of things to your text. Let's say, for example, you are creating a paragraph, you are writing a blog post or something, and you want to format it in a certain way. You can. So one of the things that you can add that is obvious is the bold, underline, and all those kind of stuff. But what I would want to do here at this moment is just add a simple link. Okay, so I'm just going to add a simple link to this. I'm just going to make this text a link, and when I click on that, it gives me the link where I want this link to go to when I click it. So I'm just going to put hash there and I'll click it. So now you can see that it changes color, and when you hover over it, you can sort of see the changes here. So I'm going to show you how you can add notes to this particular text that you have selected, the link, and change everything about it. So basically what you need to do first is go to node options. This is what we call the node options. First, make sure that it's set to off. Then we are going to look for something. So we are going to look for item link. Alright, item link. And then we select item link. What you need to understand here is this. It's very important to select the element that you want to have an item link in, you want to modify. So what it's basically saying is that this is a link inside this text because we added a link, as you can see. So when we come to node options and we select item link, every node we add to this text is going to go to the items link. So for example, let me just show you. When you click on the text right now, this is what will happen. And in this mode, you can't drag things around because you are working on certain particular aspects of this text. Now we are going to add particular nodes that will change the behavior of this particular text. So we've selected, first you go to the node options, select item link, click on the text that has the link embedded in it, and then we are going to add our nodes. So let's start with font family. We want to change the font family of that particular text. Okay, don't worry, it looks like it's changing everything. Don't worry, it's going to go back to normal. Then we have the font size of that text. Do not worry, again, as I say. And basically, let's leave it at that. Font size, we can add a background color if we want, but it really wouldn't change anything. So what I want to do is I want to make this font family something like Roberto Light. Okay, and we are going to make the font size 50 or 56, right? As you can see, it's actually even affecting only this font, but because the earlier changes affected the whole font, just don't worry, it's going to go back to normal. Then we have the background color, which we are just going to leave like that. So make sure you press Ctrl S to save. So now we've saved the settings. What we want to do here is turn the node options off. Please remember, every time you make this change, you need to turn the node options off, and then we are going to redraw our design view so that we can see what we have. Now, as you can see, as I told you, it's going to go back to normal. What basically normally happens is that when you're adding nodes to certain elements within the text that you've selected, it actually affects the whole text so that it can be something like in unison, so you can see the effect properly. Now what we want to do here is I'm going to select this text again. Okay, so let's select the text. Let's click on another element. So this is the case that I was talking about in the previous videos. Anytime you are selecting a text, that is especially after you've refreshed your drawing area or your canvas area, what you need to do is click on away. When you click on the first text and it's no loading, click away onto another thing and come back again. It's just going to select it. So what I want to do again is select this item link again and click on my text. I forgot to add one thing, which is color, because I want the color to be the same as the element over there, right? I want it to be the same as the text, so I'm just going to make it black, and I'm going to press Ctrl S to save, and that'll be it. So let me go back, turn the node option off. I need to turn the node option off first, and then I repaint. Anytime I do node option settings, I will need to repaint my design or probably add a new section. What I could have done was, anytime I add a new section, I get it done. I get it. It will redraw the working area for me so I can see what I'm dealing with. Now, after selecting this, as you can see, things come back to normal. So what you've been able to do effectively is probably give any item link. It's not just this website that is going to be like this. Let's say, for example, anytime I want to add another link, it's going to have the same design. So let's say visit. Okay, so I want to visit, and I'm going to select this visit, and I'm going to make it into also a link. And I'm going to put a hash. I'm going to put a hash here, and I'm going to do that. So the moment I do that, you can see that it also changes to this look, because I have added nodes, or I've created nodes for every link that actually you create in this. Okay, so sometimes when you see there's a design where we have bold text on the left and light text on the right, with less code, this is how you do it. You don't necessarily have to use a link. There's another element in there called a span, which you can actually use to make changes like this, and we are going to revisit this in a newer video, like in a separate video, so that you can get it. Well, this was just an introduction since we are working on text now. Basically, we really don't have anything else that we need to do now, so I just want to end this video tutorial, and we are going to take it up again in the next video. In the next video, we are going to talk about how to add images to your website.